I know there is something going on. I will try not to have our listeners suffer through this, but I'm bringing more bass in my voice today.
There you go.
What can I tell you other than it's not normally like this? We have lots to cover today. That's the good news. So we're going to keep everybody distracted from that. But I will say, if you missed the memo, today is also Blue Shirt Day.
Yeah. If you're wearing a blue shirt, send a picture to the office.
Right? That's right. So Blue
Prove
Shirt
that you're
Day.
part of the club.
What do they do? You can text it to 541-375-0898, or you can email it to info@littlejohnfs.com and just participate in Blue Shirt Day. It'll be great. So, Matt,
Yeah.
I got to tell you, there's something that's on everybody's mind. This show will probably not be a good rerun show, and that's okay. But it's worth talking about because everybody's talking about it. But I think it's really a sign of the times more than just what everybody's talking about. What is it that I'm thinking of?
You're talking about the craziness around the SpaceX IPO.
I am, in fact, talking about the craziness
You
around
know,
the
this
SpaceX
is
IPO.
year, 5 or 6 for me now, and I can say that in the entire time I've been doing this, which granted, that's a short window of time, right? But there's never been the buzz around an IPO like this that I've seen. Not even close.
Yeah, this was very well hyped. I would suggest that there is going to be similar buzz to something like
It feels
OpenAI.
I feel like I'm watching an episode of the Kardashians or something right now.
Yeah, it's very much about the glitz and the glamour right now, and there's a dream that I think goes beyond the typical thought process for investors. This idea of this is actual science fiction stuff coming to life. So that to me, I admit it is fascinating.
Sure.
Right? It is fascinating to pay attention to. I'm like using myself. Fascinating. Right? It's like Spock. You have to look at it and try to be. Except that nobody's acting like Spock. There's tons of emotion wrapped up in this right now. So let's spend a little bit of time today. There's going to be another word that we're going to use a lot today. The word is structural. Right? If this was a drinking game, every time we say that, this is going to be a problem for you. Don't play that game. So
Now someone really does want
they're
to
going to
play.
be like, I'm listening to the podcast. We're going to play the structural game. Like, that was number 2. So the issue here is first, we need to unpack for our listeners. I don't know how many people really know what IPO means.
Yep. Initial public offering.
Yes. So here's something that most folks don't know. Right now, if you want to go buy Microsoft or Google or Meta or any number of companies that are publicly traded, you know where you go to buy it?
In exchange.
An exchange. And you know where the exchange lives? On the secondary market. And people think, wait, what are you talking about, the secondary market? I just go out there and buy it. That's the primary market. Well, to you or me, that might feel that way, but it's actually the secondary market.
You're talking about the ability for big institutions like BlackRock or Vanguard to be able to get to the shares before you do.
So I'm actually not
Okay.
talking about that. Here's the interesting thing about what an initial public offering is. If something is being offered for the first time, the initial time, to the public, then what was the condition prior to it being offered to the public?
Well, it was offered to the big institutions like BlackRock and Fidelity
It
and
was
Vanguard.
private.
Right.
These companies start out as private enterprises. That doesn't mean that they're not investors, but it means it's not trading amongst the public. Okay? Now, this is why this show is so relevant. Okay? Because Matthew and I haven't talked about this stuff a lot either.
Nope.
Okay, the BlackRocks and the Vanguards or the all these giant institutions that you're talking about, they sit in a unique position. They are what's known as investment bankers. I think there's some real misunderstanding about what an investment banker is.
Talk to me about what do you think the big like misconceptions are?
Well, I think the big misconception is that it's a banker. People think, it must be associated with banks. Because
Okay.
it sure sounds like it, bankers in the name.
Yeah.
But that's not what it is. An investment banker, so the banker is more like the action that's occurring, and the investment is...
You're saying like they're mainly banking the shares, not...
Yes.
Yeah.
So their job is to take a company from private, come up with a valuation for it, and then come up with the shares that are going to be then turned around and sold to the public marketplace. And what happens is there's a bunch of different investment bankers or brokerage outfits that will allocate the initial offering for a specific price, meaning they're going to sort of pre-shop and find all the people that want to buy this, and they're going to get these things pre-sold so that on the initial public offering, those shares become available so that they can begin trading on the secondary market. And so there's a whole process to this. There's the process of registration. There's the process of completing a prospectus. There's the process of putting out a red herring to get interest from the various parties that might want to become investment bankers in the deal.
Have you heard about all the news and squawk about how SpaceX kind of rewrote the whole IPO playbook?
So
This is crazy. So I was reading about this, and they were talking about how they slashed the commission rates. So like normally, these investment bankers, there is like a big markup, right, in there, like 4 to 7%. Well, SpaceX negotiated that down to 0.75%.
which makes sense when you're offering a company that's going to be
type of
valued at
valuation.
$2 trillion.
It's nuts. Yeah.
Right, and I think at some point today I saw it trading at 2.8 trillion based on the way the stock shot up in value in the last few days.
And on the initial IPO, that 0.75% still yielded those banks like $500 million. And so, yeah, it makes sense that they wanted to negotiate that down because, 4x that, and it's like, oh, so we're talking about...
Careful. When you say you're talking about the number 4, correct?
Yeah, I'm saying like if you 4x the difference
because 4x is also a currency exchange.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm saying you literally multiply that out. And I'm like, that could have been like $1 billion just to the banks had that not been negotiated.
Had they been distributing the whole thing.
The investment banks, yeah. That's crazy.
Because they're selling a portion of the company public, right? There's still shares that are not publicly distributed. And so that's interesting. And this also is something very interesting happened with Elon Musk during this process.
What's that?
Well, he became the richest man, at least on paper, I think of all time in all history.
Yeah.
He became a trillionaire.
Right, first trillionaire ever. And, I think I said this earlier today, but it's crazy to think that like you or I, we're closer net worth to Jeff Bezos than Jeff Bezos is to Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Because Bezos is under 300 billion in net worth. And it's like, you could have $0. It's a lot closer to 0 to 3 billion than 3 billion is to a trillion.
Here is what's fascinating about this.
And overnight, too.
Overnight. The question is it real?
That is the real question. For a moment in time, it is. It can be real today.
And so it's real in that, that's really how we value things, and that's really how we would assign a net worth. So that number is real. Whether or not it's tangible is a whole different story. Whether or not it's sustainable is a whole nother question. Okay? And that's because sustainability means the company has to produce and fulfill at that level, so that it has to maintain a value that high. Is SpaceX really a $3 trillion company out of the gate? I understood that SpaceX is rivaling Microsoft in its valuation right now.
Yeah, they surpassed Amazon for a moment. I don't know if it's still holding up, but the day ago, it was above where Amazon is valued, right? And now knocking on the door of crossing Microsoft's threshold. Yeah, nuts.
And it's fascinating to me that Microsoft and Amazon and Apple, between those three companies, touch the majority of human beings on the planet. Right? At least the majority of first world human beings on the planet.
Yeah, like Amazon's delivering to virtually everyone. Microsoft builds systems that most people use.
Yeah, you're
often.
either on Microsoft or Apple by market share. There's a handful of strange sort of Linux spin-offs that are out there, but not much. else. You know, that's kind of the operating system game, and computers do run the world here. Mm-hmm. So it is fascinating to see how the market is imputing a value to SpaceX right now.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And I had a great conversation with somebody yesterday, and I was chuckling, and I just said, when somebody said, look at the value and look at the PE ratios and everything, and I said, yeah, what could go wrong? And the guy chuckled and said, you mean what could go right? Because his point is, it's priced to perfection. Now, we have to be very careful here because we can't offer advice on this, and so when we talk about something specific, let me tell you, we're not offering any advice when I say this. But I am offering a perspective, which is be cautious in your analysis as well as optimistic, right? Try to look at both sides and do comprehensive analysis.
Yeah, because you got to think the area that he's playing in is so expensive. Mm-hmm. Like, what if, just in theory, I mean, he's had this happen before. Say one of his rockets is loaded up with some satellites that he's delivering for another company, and one of them blows up. How many rockets does SpaceX have?
I don't know.
Okay, now imagine you have a second unsuccessful launch or a third. And it's like, wait a minute, you know, you have to start being able to calculate the cost of doing business for them, and it's quite high. Fuel is not cheap.
It's extremely high. And you think about, there was going to be competition from Amazon in the form of Blue Origin. And just before the SpaceX IPO, Blue Origin had a failed launch, and they lost one of their rockets.
Yeah, and it put a huge backlog in the system for major companies.
And all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that said that improved the value of SpaceX because they still had rockets.
Right.
So, yes, getting stuff into space is extraordinarily difficult.
I saw a picture, though, of like when Elon had one of his rockets explode, and he was like structurally out of money. He was borrowing left and right to try and keep this whole space venture afloat. And he's just like sitting on the floor looking around at all the rubble. Like, what do I do, you know? Yeah. So it's like he's been there before with this company where he was just borrowing to keep it afloat. And now, you know, it goes public. Does it magically going public and going up in share price mean that the business is successful? Let's talk about that.
I don't know. We have a lot more to talk about. I'm looking at the clock. Let's do this. Let's grab a break.
Okay.
When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about the Elon effect. We're kind of establishing the IPO concept. There's other IPOs in the pipeline that are relevant, and we got to figure out.
Talk about those.
Yeah, how does this all fit together for investors? That and more when we come back. Stick around. I'm Dave Littlejohn
and Matt Dixon,
and you got True Wealth on News Radio 93.9 FM and 1240 KQEN. Okay.
All right.
So now this is the time when I cough.
Sure. This is the time where I say it's already 95 degrees in here.
Oh, this is the fun time of the year when the studio gets hot.
My office, for whatever reason, I don't know what thermostat it's on.
It should have cooled down some because we turned the thermostat in my office down.
Oh, good.
Was it cooler today than yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday was unbearable. I had clients in there, and we were all so hot that we almost died.
I cannot take you seriously. Clearly, death was at the door.
Yeah, it came knocking. I crawled out.
Surprised I'm even still here.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
What's really crazy is the heat in the mill. If you work in the summertime and then you have those dryers going, and it gets like 130 degrees in there and consistently stays at that temperature, and you're pulling wood as fast as you can pull. So you're like sweating to the point of there's no sweat left in you, and then you die, but you get revived. And it's just a constant game of dying and being revived.
Again, I'm going to go back to having difficulty taking you seriously. By the way, audience, I need a haircut in the worst way.
I think you should do the opposite. And I think you should completely grow it out. I think that you should do a mustache.
I just keep it going until
I want you to grow the hair really long and the mustache really long. And I want you to be this face that the internet stops when they're scrolling and they're like, who's that?
What happened?
Who is this man?
I don't know. Here we go.
See how much that fully damage.
Thank you. Welcome back to the True Wealth Radio Show, where we have had so many station identifiers that you should know what you're listening to. Dave Littlejohn in studio with
Matt Dixon.
and we are talking about the IPO crazed market. We know that SpaceX just had an IPO. That made the market crazy. I know a whole bunch of people who are like, did you get in? Did you get in? And let me, spoiler alert, no, I did not. Now, does that mean, now here's the thing. I could have just watched the train leave the station without me. Mm-hmm. I could have also been the one that says, no, I'll get in a better opportunity later. Who knows, right? I mean, these are not knowable things right now. I think that it's very difficult to discern real value with the kind of hype surrounding this right now. And we've used this analogy before. There's a lot of foam, and I don't know how much beer is in this value right now.
Yeah, it's really hard to value until you've seen multiple quarters of revenue and earnings. Like, everything is kind of a black box right now when it comes to the financials behind that company. And so, yeah, I guess we shall wait and see.
Well, and we're really banking on some things that we just assume will play out.
Kind of like the whole AI thing rolls out perfectly.
Well, Starlink is going to become the premier and almost exclusive internet provider on a subscription basis.
What's wild to me is like there's now more and more competition in that space, right? Because we've heard that Google's trying to get an internet service launched.
We've heard Amazon was too, I thought.
Or sorry, Amazon. That's what I meant to say. Leo. That's what they've named it. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people want to compete in that space. And you even have companies like ASTS Mobile who want to put satellites in low Earth orbit. And then, they're apparently inking deals with Verizon and AT&T. So you look at that and it's like, well, we already know that those companies offer home internet solutions, right? And so for the person that maybe wants to save money, maybe that's an option down the road in the future. So I think a lot of people are rushing to try and compete in that space. So I think you make a valid point. It's like, well, does Starlink just dominate that, or is there increased competition?
Right. It's this idea of there's a lot of really optimistic assumptions in the price right now.
And here's the other thing that we're not even talking about. What if cord cutting isn't as aggressive in the future as it has been lately?
Well, I'm really interested in the concept of analog coming back.
And I think that in my mind, and at least through my research, there is a viable reason for the analog stuff coming back. And part of it is cost, right? Like, to shoot a rocket ship into space and put a satellite up there that's very expensive to maintain. You look at all the costs associated with that versus I'm going to hire some guys to lay some, cable in the ground. And like, cable is like, those cables they got a lot of horsepower. You can move a lot more speed in a cable.
Yeah, so it's funny. My mind went somewhere else. I was just listening because I thought of analog as like people are starting to write handwritten notes again and use paper again. And I have a 15-year-old daughter that wants to collect old CDs.
That's coming back.
Yeah,
it really is coming back.
A form of vintage that people are like, I kind of want some of this more tangible and nostalgic.
Our streaming's been cut in half at home. We're buying up the old VHS tapes. It's like, kid, if you want to watch TV, you're going to have to work for it.
Oh, goodness.
Like, you're going to have to rewind some stuff.
That's a whole different level. VHS is, that's vintage even for you.
I grew up on it, and I'm like, it feels good.
And I'm older than you, so it's quite vintage. But, all right, we'll carry on.
Let's go back to it. Let's be the movement. Let's start it today, David. DVDs, CDs, and VHS tapes.
My version of analog is actually going for a hike and seeing the waterfall firsthand. That to me is the stuff that I think we're really needing more of that experience.
So you're not getting the metaverse, stuff out and just going into a virtual reality and losing yourself there?
I am not.
Okay.
And that may just be my age and generational gap, even though I think I'm a pretty I think I adopt a lot of tech.
You know, I don't think that you're alone in this. I think that you look at millennials as an entire group, and I think they're pushing it back against a lot of these things as well. Right?
I'm seeing a trend of people starting to put phones down
Yep.
a little bit,
Well,
and that's a good thing.
and
I mean, not always. People that are by themselves doom scroll, but in groups, you're starting to see a little bit more. I'm hoping for a trend toward let's go do something without the phone being the distraction.
Well, I think that's happening. I think millennials are making a lot of healthier decisions too when it comes to like their eating habits. Like, none of my friends are eating out like at Taco Bell and McDonald's.
Some of that's
and Jack
also
in the Box.
price. You know, I
Maybe
do
it
look
might
at
be.
I look at a lot of these fast food places, and I'm like, you guys have now priced yourselves to the point that it's more attractive to go to a restaurant and sit down and enjoy the whole experience, because the fast food oftentimes isn't faster, it's not higher quality, and it's definitely not cheaper.
Well,
so I'm like, then what's the point?
Yeah. I don't know. I just think people are kind of fed up with the whole being poisoned thing. Like, I mean, you can look at alcohol sales down, like smoking was down. It's actually picking back up.
I don't know if there was a move away from smoking and like vaping went up,
Yeah.
and some things like that, but
People tend to like their nicotine, but yeah, no, I think that things are changing.
yeah, so let's talk a little bit about, I've been talking about change. There's a couple more IPOs that I know are in the marketplace.
And they're all kind of doing the same thing.
Yes. There's a lot of media hype around this,
Well-
and there's a lot of social media push, and it just seems like there's a lot of noise. Like
It's the AI.
it's the thing, you gotta be
Yeah.
in on it.
It's the AI IPO. Everyone thinks of SpaceX as just a space company, but they all like SpaceX has Colossus, which is the world's largest supercomputer, right?
Yeah. I have a whole different theory on this one, by the way, but
And so I'm like, well, and you were about to mention what? Anthropic and
Anthropic's a
and,
big one that's looking at their IPO.
OpenAI.
I think they're on the list too.
Yeah, and so it's going to be crazy
Yep.
because we're hearing like whispers of similar numbers on IPO.
Well, here's the thing that's fascinating to me. You need a lot of marketing hype in order to convince people to buy these things. But let's play a what if game.
Let's do
It's
it.
kind of a dark what if game.
I think I'm going to subscribe to it. I'm
Okay.
easily, know.
It's a little dark. It's a little conspiratorial, and it is none of this is investment advice.
Okay.
Absolutely not investment advice. But I consider for a moment, what if a bunch of these companies took on tons of investor dollars, and then rationalized really high valuations, brought in more investors, and they're burning through capital like crazy. And they have a bunch of investors that are early adopters into this thing that need to get cashed out, including themselves. And so what they do is they drum up a whole lot of public interest so that they can spin these things off to the public to cash out the early investors. After which point the stock can effectively crater because it won't go away. But the people that put the money in that are demanding that, either like you get us out of this thing or there's going to be, heck to pay for it. That's a concern. I mean, there's a whole theory around Elon tracking all the way back through the Twitter purchase. What it's like, well, look, you put tons of money into Tesla. It wasn't making enough money. It was pivoting several times. It went from a car company to a battery company to a roof company, back to a car company to now a robot company but it's not here yet. But they're coming, right? And so it's always the next best thing, but we keep pivoting. So investors are expecting delivery of one thing, and that gets delayed. But don't worry, there's a new, even better thing. And then you see, Twitter, which became X, which is like, great, now we put investors here. That thing took a bath market value-wise. And then, let's roll Grok into it. Now we have an AI company, so that makes Twitter interesting again. And then, we need to get SpaceX hyped. Well, then how are we going to fuel Grok? We're going to create Colossus under this other company. We're going to tie them all together so that all of my investors can kind of make their way through. And it's like, you lost your shirt on X, but don't worry, I'm going to get you out on SpaceX, because I connected everything together. And so maybe that's just a dark conspiracy, or maybe there's more truth to it than we care to admit.
I tend to err on that side because look at who's paying who, right?
Exactly. It's this
And it-
do-si-do of money where one company invests in the other
They
who
just
invests
seem to
back.
prop each other up, where it's like, well, today, Anthropic needs more compute power, so they'll pay SpaceX. And then he's like, well, that's maybe not fully true. But then it's like, well, Google's going to pay blah, blah, blah. And Apple
Yeah,
needs to
but
pay.
don't worry, and we're going to
Apple
get
needs to
NVIDIA
pay-
looped in to
yeah.
make the processors, and they're going to hire Oracle to make the operating
And
component.
Apple's going to pay Google to upgrade their Siri platform.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute. So, like, 7 or 8 companies are just swapping money back and forth, and everyone loses their mind and saying that the world is, like, immediately changed overnight. And I'm like, holy smokes.
And then you say, what could go wrong? And then somebody goes, no, what could go right?
Yeah. And then you hear the stat that those companies now make up more than, 50% of the NASDAQ?
It's
And I'm
wild.
like, wait, the index is now 50% of how many companies?
Yeah, the concentration is super, super high. And that's when you get to start examining the structural problems
You're gonna laugh
in
when
these deals.
You're gonna laugh when I say this, but do you remember back in the day when Apple would have their meetings and everything would be black and the CEO would get up on stage and Steve Jobs would be like, "All right."
The black turtleneck. and
Yeah,
blue
the black
jeans.
turtleneck, and he'd be like, "We are releasing the most revolutionary product," and everyone's just like, "Ah!" and Apple stock's going crazy.
Sure.
Did you notice that Jensen Huang has literally?
It's the
He
formula.
literally looks just like Steve Jobs when he's presenting something up on stage. And I'm like, NVIDIA's the new Apple, and whatever he says is going to go nuclear. Everyone throws all their money at it, and we have intoxicated ourselves as a market, it feels like, on this, like,
Well, the reason
hype train.
that I think, the reason my mind goes to the dark place is because traditional investments look pretty boring.
Yeah.
Investments that seem to be affordable look very boring. And because message boards everywhere are basically
Yeah.
mocking people that aren't buying this really
Yeah.
high risk stuff.
And now we've priced software as if it's out of business.
Well, and then you're seeing these price to earnings ratios of 150, 200. So think about what that means. You're going to pay $150 for $1 of earnings from a company in a year.
Yeah.
Okay, if on a yield basis, it's
And
terrible.
the market tends to average around 20 something,
So yeah, I mean it's just
20 something to 1.
it's exotically high. So anyway, we have to ask ourselves, what are the structural concerns going on?
We're going to have to start selling some beachfront property in Wyoming or something.
Okay, we've officially went there. We're going to take a break. We're going to get Matthew back in studio with us, and then we're going to go on. So yeah, we just laid out the dark case. Hey, but maybe we could lay out the case. What if it did go right? Well, we'll play that game and more. Stick around. We'll be right back. I'm Dave Littlejohn,
And Matt Dixon.
and you got True Wealth on News Radio 93.9 FM and 1240 KQEN.
Ventilation time.
Do it, Blue Shirt Club. Oh my. My.
Texting Mike. Saying, where's my radio? Show text message. Slacking.
So, I think I'm starting to understand why I like financial planners are a little bit like travel agents. Some people are like, I just really want to plan all of my travel and get it right and do all the things. And other people are like, I want somebody else to do this for me because this is a lot of pressure.
So what you're saying is we need to add a travel agency to our business.
We could.
We really could.
I actually want to get back to doing stuff that I used to want to do was create a whole culture around our firm about like why you'd want to hang out with us. Because we would create things that were fun to do and pull together things like, oh, well, there actually is a travel agency partnership, and we really do have a group of people that are going to go off, and we've negotiated a great price.
Lifestyle.
Yes.
That's actually not a bad idea because you could, in theory, write that off for you. Like if you wanted to say,
But I don't want to. I mean, sure, but that's not my motivation at
no,
all.
you would be building a cool culture.
The
where it's
motion,
like,
the
hey,
idea
we're
is.
doing a trip to the Bahamas in
Yeah.
2027. Anyone who is part of the firm and wants to go hang out and have fun.
What'd be really clever is to say we're going to do a trip, but what we're going to do is like a daily class so that you can use your 529 to pay for it.
That's wild.
Like we'll actually create a school and we'll teach you how to do this stuff. And if you have leftover 529 money, then go ahead and use it, on this trip.
And it happens to be that the class is in Jamaica.
Class can be on a cruise ship. We're just going to meet for, you got to check in, you got to spend, an hour a day at this thing.
Do you think that if we literally said, like, there's going to be a group trip to the Cayman Islands or something, and we blasted that out on an email, and it's like...
I think some people would do it, yeah.
I think they would.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I think that what we're doing here, but for our clients at large, is a great idea. I mean, I'm kind of done with this idea of we're going to be like Fidelity or BlackRock or something like that. I never wanted to be like that.
Calls our clients and says we're going on a
Yeah, no, I'm more like, no, we just want a great culture of people that like kind of doing what we do. And it's more like, it's kind of the culture Dave Ramsey built a little bit,
It spreads because those people are friends with people who are similar to them.
Well, and because it's not about us anymore, it's about them.
Right. Okay, we now have the firm's entire marketing plan drawn up in 25 seconds of radio space commercial.
All right, gang, welcome back to the True Wealth Show, where during the break, Matt and I apparently just developed our marketing plan.
Yep.
So I think somewhere in the IPO craze of all this, it boiled back down to this silly idea that it's gotten impersonal. And that's not what we like. So for those of you listening, we're glad that you are listening. And just so you know, we are real people and we actually do help individuals. So if that is something where you go, well, great, because I'm sick and tired of talking to a computer screen and I don't even know all the questions to ask, then that's what we're here for. So Matt, shameless plug, how do they reach us?
Yeah, why don't you shoot us an email at info@littlejohnfs.com, or you can call or text 541-375-0898.
All right. So as we have been talking today about the IPO market, we've now covered like SpaceX, we've talked a little bit about Anthropic and others. Let me help you understand how a company is valued. We don't talk about market capitalization very much, but do you really think Elon is a trillionaire? And the answer is yes. Let me explain how we do it. Let's use your house as an example. Hey, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to offer for your home right now $7 million.
Sold.
Okay. So, we're going to start writing this deal. And you're going to tell everybody you sold your house for $7 million.
Mm-hmm.
You're effectively a millionaire.
Yep.
But my finances fall through, everything falls apart, and your house can't sell, and it goes back to normal market value. What happens to your net worth?
It goes right back to where it was.
Yeah, but
which
for a
is
little
not
while,
being a millionaire.
On paper, you were at least going to be a multimillionaire.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying, hey, what happens if everyone tomorrow decides we're going to dump SpaceX stock and it craters well below IPO to $50 a share?
It strangely turns out that SpaceX has all been an elaborate ruse that we never landed on the moon, and we've never put a rocket into orbit. It's
you're starting to speak my language. Okay, now I'm
it's
waking
pretty
up.
hard because there have been people standing on places watching rockets go into the sky, so we had to fool all of them too. But there was group hypnosis, the whole shebang, right?
Yeah.
It never happened. And it comes out that this was all an elaborate scam. Then the company is worthless, and Elon Musk's net worth evaporates. Right? Now, here's the really interesting thing. If I came along and was offering Matt $7 million for his house, but somebody else came along and offered fair market value, and let's just say it's, I don't know, $350,000.
Okay.
Let's just pick a number, right? I withdraw my offer, and nobody else shows up to offer $7 million, the house was worth $7 million on paper. Now it's worth $350,000 again.
Right.
Because it's really only worth whatever the highest bidder is willing to offer you.
True.
You know, if you say to me, my house is worth $7 million, I don't have to agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, the markets are really fascinating because the way we define the price is based on the last trade we saw, which means literally if the company starts today, let's say the stock, it finished at about $200 today, which was roughly about $2.6 trillion in value, I think, roughly. But let's make the math really easy. Let's say this is $200 and it was $200 trillion. And the stock was to go down $10 tomorrow to $190. Then the value of the company went from $2 trillion
To
down to
1.9.
$1.9 trillion. So the fact that, and let's say that nobody traded the stock at all. Everybody stared at each other in a room all day long. And then at the very end of the day, there was one trade that happened and one person sold at $200 and one person bought at $190. It was only 100 shares. Right? That transaction is reflected as the value of the entire company. The last snapshot, we give the entire value. Once the market shuts down at the end of the day, market stopped trading. Okay, that's the value of the company right now.
That's wild.
Now, do markets really stop? No, they kind of trade around the world now in different markets, and the stock gets sort of tossed around in there. But that's actually the way that you could think about it is, whatever the last snapshot is, the price that someone's willing to say, yes, I'll buy it for that, is the price that we take and we multiply it by every single share in existence, and we impute the market capitalization from that transaction.
You know what's really wild to think about? This is just me thinking out loud. But say Anthropic IPOs and it goes over $1 trillion. Say OpenAI does the same thing and that goes over $1 trillion. And now you have 3 companies potentially sitting inside the top 10 largest companies in the U.S. And it's crazy to think that 30% of the companies in the top 10 could be brand new companies that really have no prior experience, like with sales, like or revenue tracking. Like we've just added
what's
this
crazy to me
massive
is
percentage.
how much of the money is real, right? We've talked about how much of it is these top companies all trading money around Robin in their own little ecosystems.
And what happens if, say, Google or Microsoft says, I don't want to pay you any money anymore because I'm just going to do it in-house? That's like what no one's talking about. Like, you know what? I kind of see the secret sauce. I'm just going to replicate it.
So I'm less concerned about that, then I think everybody benefits. That's the reason it keeps happening. Everybody benefits from if we do trades and swaps amongst each other, we can record this stuff as income, even if it's not really income. This is something, by the way, so he's since passed away, but Warren Buffett had a partner by the name of Charlie Munger. And one of the Charlie Munger's things he said was, people don't understand accounting. And so even analysts struggle with accounting because accounting can be sort of sleight of hand. If the case of, say, Microsoft and OpenAI, Microsoft may never actually give money to OpenAI, but what they'll do is they'll give them server space on their Azure server platform and say, well, we gave you this much value. And then OpenAI gets to record it as income. And Microsoft gets to expense it, but the transaction may not have actually exchanged actual cash. It's just this imputed value stuff. And depending on the way the accounting is handled, that may be reflected as income on a balance statement. And it can make the company look like it's making tons of profits. So now I'm not saying that's what is happening. I'm saying consider a scenario like that you have to really understand accounting to know, are these numbers real or are they conjured?
That's the biggest question that everyone's trying to ask right now.
Yeah. This is, some time ago, a company called, I remember Enron went out of business for conjuring numbers, where what they'd really done was they'd taken all of the bad things that were happening in the company and they'd put them into little like LLCs and things, and they'd sort of pulled them off the books so that they didn't show up.
Wow.
So their company looked pristine because all of the bad stuff had been wrapped up in shell companies and sort of set on the side. savvy people figured it out and realized it was all a shell game, and people lost fortunes. And I mean, a bunch of regular folks on Main Street that had huge positions of stock in their 401ks and so forth, they lost everything. Mm-hmm. So, this can really happen. That's my concern in the IPO craze market, is do we even understand what's going on inside of that? And do people care? I know people that are like, should I buy SpaceX? And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, you're like,
I don't know what to tell you because
value it.
I don't even know how to value what they're doing right now. And I don't really know how to suss out the numbers that are going on inside of the company either. Mm-hmm. And so the fear is, how can I give you very much to work with if I don't really understand it?
Yeah.
And so that's why I've told people the same. It's like, hey, I'm not making comments on it. Like, I can't tell you if it's good or bad. I could tell you the train left the station without me or the train hasn't left the station without me. I don't know. I'm willing to be patient because I'm less of a speculator and more of an investor, and that's how I approach it personally. But, to each their own. If you feel like the analysis plays out, that's fine. I'm not judging you for it. I'm just saying I don't know how to do it right now. And so
Yeah.
I gotta learn what I don't know about this thing.
And I think what makes it even harder is, traditionally, you kind of let the open market determine the value right out of the gate. Mm-hmm. And
But it seems like it's a lot of retail right now.
SpaceX strictly dictated its worth via semi-annual private tender offers. Right? And so that's been another thing that's really made this difficult, is it's not really clear and it's not really transparent. So
Again, I think that there's been structuring going on. I think that
it looks like it smells like it.
Yeah, I can't really tell, but that's the problem is if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, I go, well, there's a good chance it's a duck. And that's what seems like is going on with this thing.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and that's the same reason that some of these other IPOs. Now, by the way, here's a question, and let me seed it this way. Let's do this. Let's take our last break. Mm-hmm. And as we go to break, I'm going to ask you this question, okay? Why is everybody coming out with IPOs right now?
I have a theory.
Good, because we're going to talk about that when we come back. Stick around. I'm Dave Littlejohn.
And Matt Dixon.
And you got True Wealth on News Radio 92.9 FM and 1240 KQEN. Okay, you have a theory. Good.
Yeah.
I need a haircut in the worst way. This is why I should just be on radio. I don't have to cut my hair.
No,
But
you should not
now-
cut your hair. You should part it differently. You maybe do like Barron Trump did, where you slick it all the way back, and
Yeah, but Barron Trump is 6'7". He
you're
can pull
close.
off anything. He's a president's son, so they just go like, oh, that's cool.
His hair looks just like yours right now. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, look it up. He did his hair completely different, and the internet lost its mind. And I'm like, how wild would that be that you change your hairstyle and 100 million people are talking about it?
What I've learned, Matt, is the concept of acceptance or admiration from the public seems good at first, but boy, is that dirty fuel. Mm-hmm. And so if the internet loses its mind, like if the internet ever lost its mind over my hairstyle, I would have to say, I don't know why the internet cares about my hairstyle.
All the internet cares about right now is that the Knicks won the championship.
Yeah, I guess that's a big deal, right?
It's a big deal.
Did you know there's 3 different monitor brands sitting in front of me? There's a Dell, an Acer, and a Samsung.
I feel like that should be illegal.
I don't even know what to say about that. I just know that's what's going on. Every one of them has a different bezel.
Yeah, my OCD would not like that.
You're not even that OCD.
Kind of.
Yeah. Not very OCD.
I'm not nearly as bad as some.
True. All right, remember your theory of why IPOs now. We have to go over this.
Okay.
Don't lose it.
It's a very simple reason.
Okay? All right.
Your reason's going to be better, but I have a reason.
We'll see. Hey, gang, welcome back to the home stretch of the True Wealth Show. Matt,
Yeah.
I don't want to keep our listeners waiting any longer. I was asking, why does it seem like we're having all these IPOs right now? And you have a theory. Lay it on me.
Yeah, and it's really simple. Okay, so we have had a very, very hot stock market now for a lot of years on end. 2023 was good, 2024 was good, 2025 was good. The market just keeps going up and up and up. And there's this like, I don't know, I'm going to say people just have so much optimism behind the market right now. And it seems like, to me at least, that there's a lot of greed. And it's like, I gotta make money. And people just keep piling in and piling in and piling in. And so I think, these guys are looking at this and they're like, eventually, the markets, in theory, should have some sort of correction that changes the sentiment behind the market. We better get in, and we better get in now, because AI is still new, it's still fresh, and people don't really know that much about it. So why don't we just say it's the next internet, throw it into the marketplace, and then let people get the fear of missing out to dominate their lives. They all pile in, and we get rich.
That's pretty close to my theory.
Is it? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's all about the fact that the market will buy the hype.
And it is.
Yeah, the timing
is.
is.
This is proving it, right?
Well, and you sort of think about, where else are you going to go?
Well, I think the order of things matters.
Yeah,
SpaceX has the most hype, right? Like, they're setting the precedent for OpenAI and Anthropic.
Yeah, and incidentally, there are scenarios where companies change their mind. The market sentiment shifts. They cannot seem to sell at the price that they're hoping for, and so they back off and they don't go public. But I do remember the last time something was this highly anticipated.
Probably ServiceNow.
As soon as I tell you, you're going to go, oh yeah, that's legit, right? ServiceNow, no, not even close. Not even close.
Okay.
The last time there was this kind of broad public hype around getting in on an IPO that I can remember was Facebook.
Oh, Meta.
Facebook, it was Facebook back then. It wasn't Meta. It was Facebook, ticker symbol FB. And that was the must find a way. And that, people made a lot of money on that. That was an IPO that went up big, and it made people oodles and oodles of money. Mm-hmm. And so that was a huge IPO.
Yeah. And
so
it's
this
hard
is probably that type of scenario.
You know what I think is really not helping people is, you go online and you look at all of the hype on social media, and it's pushing the narrative, right? Because it's like, imagine if you had thrown $1,000 at Google when it first came out, and $1,000 at Microsoft, and $1,000 at, like you just said, Facebook, now Meta. If you had just bought it and held it. But here's the reality. Most people aren't disciplined enough to hold it through
and here's
the bad
other
times.
Thing. Look at, I'm really curious about this. I don't know if I can pull it up fast enough because I'm typing one-handed right now, for those of you that don't know. But the curiosity is, what was its initial valuation? And it was not a $2 trillion company. Facebook, no. I remember when it crossed $1 trillion, having been trading in the marketplace. So its initial valuation was way, way lower. So the issue now is that SpaceX is coming in with this exotically high valuation relative to historical values. And so you have to look at this and go, well, how are they going to be worth that? Because you're saying, well, just put $1,000 in and see what happens. And I go, you're putting $1,000 into a company that's already valued at almost $3 trillion.
$104 billion with a share price of $38 a share.
There you go. $104 billion is how Facebook got valued.
So now...
And now today's value for Facebook is like $1 trillion.
Right, so they 10x.
Okay,
but
so no, they 100x'd. From, or what, you said 104, we had 10x, you're right.
Yeah.
So they 10x'd, yeah. So Facebook 10x's, so $1,000 becomes 10,000. But that means that you have to go from 2 trillion to 20 trillion.
Yeah, and I'm like, wait a minute.
20 trillion, just so you know, is the entire GDP of the United States. More, it's almost, I mean, it's ridiculously huge.
Yeah.
So it's like, You have to. That
People aren't
represents
using numbers right now.
50% of the global economy.
When I asked AI,
One
to help-
company does 50% of all business in the world to get a 10x
from
increase in
2
their
trillion,
value.
yeah. To put that in perspective, like I asked AI to help me write this show, and I didn't really use any of it. But one of the things that stood out
My
to
bad.
me was it said SpaceX feels like a vibe check only. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. Everyone's like, well, the vibe feels good, right? Mm-hmm. Buy it. Vibes. We're living on vibes right now. That's what it feels like.
I love that term.
Yeah.
That is the best way I could think to describe it right now, too, because vibes is such a, like it's the word right now.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm all, you could tell in my age, I'm like, yeah, my vibe is that I don't have vibes.
You're like, thank goodness, or I'd be at a doctor.
Yeah. So I struggle with this one. And maybe we look back on this show in a year or two and it's like, oh, wow.
Hey, I actually think we could. I think we could look back on.
I think we should kind of like put this one in a time capsule, pull it up in a couple years and see how did this age?
Yeah, here's the thing. Markets can remain irrational for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And, I think that a lot of people that bought this are like, I'm just going to buy it and hold it, and one day I'll be rich. So maybe there won't be a ton of selling pressure from the individual investor. But I do think that at some point, we could see the big institutions say, it's time
It'll
to take
be interesting.
profits.
How many people were just ordinary workers that are now multi-millionaires?
Yeah.
That's the thing that's
Almost
wild.
everyone
And
that
so,
worked there
and
is.
the question is, how many of them will take chips off the table or just let it keep riding?
I mean, I can tell you what I'd do.
I think it's easier to say from when you're not in it. I think when you're actually in it, it's a lot harder because there's these people that could also say, well, if you'd held on to Microsoft, you'd be a billionaire, or something like that. So I think it's going to be a hard call. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be a really hard call.
But there was a report. The guy that's one of the main, welders there that makes $25 an hour or whatever, millionaire or close to it. And it's like, if you're that guy and you're making $25 an hour and it opens up for the lockout period ends and you can sell and realize the fact that you went from a $25 an hour welder to a millionaire,
well, and maybe you
people-
sell half or 2/3. I'm not offering advice, but I'm saying maybe you just take enough off the table that you're kind of set either way. And it's like, well, I've got some now, and if
that'd
it keeps
be
going, I
probably
win.
a logical thing to do. But
Well, and that's the kind of stuff that financial advisors help you work through.
Sure.
So in the remaining 60 seconds of the show, I guess I want to kind of pivot it to this. It is, I think, really important to understand the difference between investing
Speculating.
and speculating.
Yeah.
And so speculation is fine. Right, we're not here to say don't speculate. We're just here to say understand what you are doing. That the speculation is not necessarily the same thing as investing.
it's okay to gamble. Just be okay with losing.
Right, and maybe you win also. So that's
Sure.
great. If you're trying to discern between the two, if you're just looking for a second opinion, any of that kind of stuff, we'll just throw out kind of the commercial at the end here. So Matt, how do they reach us?
Yep, 541-375-0898, or just go chat us at our website at Littlejohn Financial, littlejohnfs.com.
Yeah, littlejohnfs.com. So, all right, well, we're out of time for now. So until next time, thanks for tuning in. I'm Dave Littlejohn.
And Matt Dixon.
And you've been listening to True Wealth on News Radio 1240 and 93.9 FM. All that stuff. We'll see you next week.